Welcome to another edition of Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. I am your regular host, Dotun Oladipo, the managing editor of The Eagle Online, which operates at www.theeagleonline.com.ng. In this edition, we will be taking another look at the July 16, 2022 governorship election in Osun State. As we speak with one of the major actors in the All Progressives Congress, our guest is a former director of the Bureau of Communication and Strategy in Osun State and former special advisor on media and strategy to former Governor Rauf Aregbesola. He is Alhaji Semiu Okanlawon, who is from Iwo, a major town in Osun State and a local government area. Alhaji Okanlawon, welcome to Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's start on a general note. What's your first comment on the outcome of that election? Generally, does it seem a reflection of the will of the people?
Well, I think painfully, one has got to admit the reality that the APC lost the election fair and square. So, there are no hard feelings as a party member and as a patriotic Nigerian who should be able to face the reality of things when they happen and not just hide behind one finger, as our people will say. I think it is better for us as a party to admit that, okay, we failed in that election. The APC lost.
So it then means that the governor-elect on the platform of People's Democratic Party, Senator Ademola Adeleke, actually got over 400,000 votes, counted for him by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
I have no any other evidence to the contrary.
So, what do you think went wrong with the All Progressives Congress? Especially when you had a governor who is on seat, and in Nigerian politics,
incumbency,
we believe in the incumbency factor. The fact that it's an added advantage. What went wrong?
Well, I think it's, first of all, it may be painful for you when you belong to a party that has been so roundly defeated. But on the other side, I think if we love Nigeria and we pray for the stability of this country and we want that stability and sustainability, I think it is high time we actually begin to accept and embrace true outcome of electoral exercises as for whatever they are worth. I think it's a great message to politicians that, well, service to the people, compliance with what the people actually want should be the main focus, so that when people go to the poll, there will be no reason for them to do otherwise than what we want them to do. I think what happened was that, well, people made their choice. Regardless of who the personality of the other person in the opposition. Yes, in Nigeria, you have the factor of incumbency, but we have to begin to realize and accept and embrace that reality that with the new electoral culture that we are trying to evolve gradually in Nigeria, that culture of incumbency will become useless. And so the only thing that will be of strong factor in deciding electoral victories will be performance. Do people want you? Have you done things that will make people to embrace you? I'm not just even speaking about Osun now. Let us leave Osun aside. Let us use Osun as a kind of yardstick to gauge the mood of the country. Even not only Nigeria, across Africa, where we do not believe that democracy has fulfilled its mission as something that should create good governance for people. So for me, I think it's a good development. Yes, our party lost painfully, but I think the result, the outcome of the election reflect what people actually wanted. Painfully.
What went wrong in the APC?
Well, so many things. The most glaring of them will be the division. You see, when a party is divided into two, even if the governor, because he's the incumbent governor and he has the power of the state with him, even if he carries 70% or 65% of that one of the divisions, if the other side of the party takes 30 or 35%, the point remains that 35% they can undo the party. So, if party politics is all about give and take, and it is all about interest, about personal interest, collective interest, there is no way you will say, even if it is only one person. Remember that in the last general election, and in the last governorship election, 2018, the governor actually won by just about 400 votes, which means that even the governor could have lost election in just one unit. In my own unit alone, we have about 661 registered voters. You understand? So that means the governor could have actually lost an election due to whatever happens in one unit alone. So if you're now looking at the percentage of people who remained aggrieved in the party up until Saturday, July 16, then you should not be surprised that, okay, you should be asking yourself, what went wrong that we were unable, no matter what the differences were, we were unable to cement that crack and bring people together to ensure that, okay, we went to election as a united front. But we failed to. So if we had been able to create that cementing within ourselves, I think there would have been the whole thing would have been a different ballgame altogether. Remember that the winner won with about 28,000 votes, which means that those who left the APC,
who could have been part of the 35%.
35%, if you get the analysis that I'm making. Don't also forget that some other people too who also contested on the platform of some other parties, not so strong as APC, they were also part of APC. Even though they also have some other, the PDP too also has another candidate that also contested on the platform of Accord Party, that is Akin Ogunbiyi, who also left the PDP. But if you look at the combination of all these things, you know that, look, perhaps the APC will have done well to avert this kind of loss.
Let's be specific now, because I can see that you are not going into the real analysis that have been of very keen interest to people.
Okay.
And that is this division between the incumbent governor, Gboyega Oyetola, and the former governor, who is now Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola. This, of course, started even before the 2018 election. What happened? A fight within the same family. What happened? Why were we unable to...
A point of correction. There was no issue between Rauf Aregbesola and the incumbent governor pre-2018 election.
But it wasn't his choice.
You cannot say it wasn't his choice. You cannot say that it wasn't his choice. Rauf Aregbesola, to the best of my knowledge, had no choice until our respected leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, until he spoke. And I'm speaking from my own personal encounter and my own personal knowledge of things that happened. I know many people kept on asking Ogbeni who will be our candidate. And he kept on telling them that two people would decide who the candidate of the party will be. And who are those two people? Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Chief Bisi Akande, the former governor of Osun. To the best of my knowledge, as a matter of fact, one person from Osun West who perhaps believed that because of his childhood experience or childhood relationship with Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola being made in the university, perhaps who believed that, okay, he might have the support of Ogbeni for his governorship ambition. I know for a fact that he was expecting some kind of support from Ogbeni, but he never got that backing. He never got that word, go and be campaigning. Everybody went to the field. People were campaigning. People were coming out to express interest in the governorship ticket of the APC ahead of 2018 election. The fellow that I'm talking about, who is now a senator, was among those who expressed interest in becoming the governor. But the fact that he was actually a schoolmate of Ogbeni did not earn him that kind of support, because Ogbeni kept on saying, no, I cannot decide who my successor will be. That decision rests. I personally heard him say he didn't come to Osun on his own volition, that he was sent to Osun. At least, and I'm speaking In fact.
As an insider.
As an insider. As a matter of fact, let me give you an example. Few weeks, some months to the election, when the then candidate of, the then secretary to the state government, Alhaji Moshood Adeoti, who was the symbol of the Iwo Lokan and the West Lokan campaign. Of course, the West Lokan campaign was all about the governorship must shift to the Osun West Senatorial District. And Alhaji Moshood Adeoti was a major factor in that campaign. When he pushed on with the campaign, everybody was thinking that, okay, this thing was going to create a problem for the party. Now, eventually, Alhaji Moshood Adeoti defected from the APC when it was clear to him that it was not going to be the choice of the party or the choice of Aregbesola. And then one of the major heads of Alhaji Moshood Adeoti, who happened to be the chairman of the APC in my own local government at that time, I knew for a fact that he was going to follow Alhaji Adeoti to ADP. What did I do? I invited him. I said, no, I'm not going to allow you to follow Alhaji Adeoti to ADP because I knew, yes, Alhaji Adeoti had a lot of support from the Osun West, but his support may not cut across. And if it was not backed by the party apparatus, there was not likely to be any sign of victory for him. So I told this guy, say, look, you are not going to follow him. And I informed the governor, Ogbeni, that, sir, I know that Alhaji Adeoti is going to defect to another party today, but I've told one of his aides that I will not allow him to follow Alhaji Adeoti. The governor replied me. He said, bring him to me. Very unusual of Ogbeni. He came downstairs around 6:30 when the guy came to Osogbo, and I took him straight to the governor. And when they were having a kind of discussion, the guy put it to Ogbeni, say, sir, but you have been unfair to Alhaji Adeoti. He said, no, what did I do? He said, I told Alhaji Adeoti that only two people will decide who my successor is. I told him it is not my choice. Even if you become my enemy, you are only doing so for nothing, because I will not be the one to decide. If Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Chief Bisi Akande, if they say it is Moshood Adeoti, all well and good, I will be the one leading your campaign. But if they say otherwise, I will not be able to argue with them. So I just want to give you an instance, things that really I witnessed, to show that, look, the issue of whether it was his choice or not his choice, I mean, it's out of it. Ogbeni did not have a choice until he spoke with Asiwaju, and Asiwaju said, that is your successor. And he came back and he told all of us. And he formed what we call the independent campaign group. And of course, I, as a person, I worked in that campaign group as the head of the media and publicity for that independent campaign group. So when people are saying that it wasn't his choice, he did not have any choice. It was only when Asiwaju and Baba Akande said it is Oyetola, that was when he had a choice. And he quickly put machinery in touch. So for me, if people convinced my oga, I mean the governor, Alhaji Gboyega Oyetola, if they convinced him to now pick fights with Ogbeni, they will only be doing so wrongly. Because assuming Asiwaju picked someone else other than Oyetola, would Ogbeni have a choice? If Asiwaju had picked someone else other than Oyetola, but Asiwaju still picked Oyetola, and so what else would be the reason for any growth? So when people are talking about the fact that no, he didn't support him, it was no. All those are barrage. I tell you, they are just lines from the pit of hell. I think in politics, rather than set the house on fire, I think we should just be looking for strategies to make sure that we stabilize the house so that we can focus and face common enemies.
But what then went wrong after the election? If
you mean after the election?
The 2018
election.
If you as an insider,
yes,
you are telling us now that he didn't see, I mean the incumbent did not see his predecessor as not backing him. And indeed, the predecessor backed him for that election.
Yes.
So what went wrong?
No,
Why did Osun
no,
suddenly become hot? Why did
no.
it
You
become,
see, that's
you know?
part of the challenges of leadership. Part of the challenges of leadership in the sense that when people get to power, some sycophants want to come around. Everybody wants to take position. Some people want to displace some people. Some people believe that no, if we don't do this, we will not have a say. So we must displace some people. And unfortunately, people who, there's nothing wrong in you picking your own people. There's nothing wrong with it. But in doing so, please put in place a mechanism that will ensure that the people that you surround yourself with are not people that are going to deceive you. And if you actually read an article that I wrote last year, well, for which the governor picked, something against me, which was widely circulated. I understand that people are now circulating that article again and saying that, oh, this guy was wrote prophetically that everything that this guy said. See, I could only write that having studied the situation, and I knew that people who were surrounding the governor, they were not sincere with him. They were only camouflaging and giving them wrong impressions and pushing him on to do wrong things. The Gboyega Oyetola that I knew, that I worked with, and I can tell you that I had a relationship with him even before we got to Osun. This is someone I had known since 2005. I believe I had the responsibility to tell him the truth, even if that truth will cost me. And it did cost me. It did cost me because I was alienated. I was like a persona non grata within the party, within the government for the entire almost 4 years. But I'm happy today that I think I told him the truth. Most of the people that were proposing for him, most of the people who claim to be strategizing for him, they were not doing so with his love in their hearts. They were doing so more for what would be the personal gains in their pockets. But have those personal gains to their pockets, have they translated to electoral victory for him? See, despite the fact that they had a very tough time winning that election in 2018 as a result of the fact that, oh, okay, it is West Local and all that, so many people left the party. We would have had a more easier election in 2022 had it been these people did not go to work to make sure that they break the relationship between him, the governor, and his predecessor, Rauf Aregbesola. I think so. What went wrong for me, in summary, is some people, out of personal interest, personal gains, just believe that they must continue to make him see black as white, white as black, and they did it so successfully until the last night of the election and until the results started tumbling in on Saturday, would now show the reality. I'm happy I met the governor. He invited me, and I met him on the eve of the election, and I'm happy that I was able to tell him, sir, what I wrote was just a plain truth. I just wanted to tell you because I believe I hold you the truth. And so, if you read that piece again, you see that virtually everything that I said is what has come to. You see, when you have a situation where people working with you, members of your own ESCO, cabinet, will be saying something behind you. When I was with Aregbesola, see, in 2012, early 2012, I recollect sending a mail to Ogbeni to make a request. And I said, sir, I want to make a special request. I have, in my almost 9 months of working with you, sir, I think it was late 2011, yeah. In my almost 9 months of working with you, I have discovered that people around, they always want to say what you want. They always want to say what you think, what they think you want to hear. Sir, I want you to grant me a special privilege, sir. Permit me to be able to tell you how I feel exactly on issues and not how you want me to feel, so that I will free my mind that I am not lying to you. It was a mail. I'm sure if I search my mail, I will still see that mail today. because I wanted to be able to disagree with the governor if I felt I needed to tell him the truth. I'll give you an example. There was a day the governor made a statement. He was angry. And he made a statement against 2 newspapers. And every other person was praising the governor. And I said, Mr. Governor, sir, I beg to disagree. You shouldn't have said that, sir. I said this and this and this and this are the implications of what you said. Every other person was praising the governor. I was the only one who said, no, sir, I'm very sorry. With due respect, sir, you cannot say that. I'll give you another example. During the time that we were owing salary, and there were problems here and there and all that, there was a day the governor went for Jumat service at the Osogbo Central Mosque. And he came out of the car and was waving at people. People were waving at him. My photographer took various shots and all that. When he sent it to me, I said, no, don't send this photograph to the media now. And why? I said, no, I just gave the instruction. I said, don't send out the pictures. So about 3 or 4 or 5 days after, I think some people started talking about the fact that, okay, yeah, the governor was hailed. There was a picture where people were hailing the governor. But they didn't see it in the newspapers as usual. Because any picture like that, it will have been sent to the media. People will see it. But I held on to that photograph. And we didn't send it out to the media. So, a few days after, some people went to tell the governor that, picture, they said Semiu was the one who said they shouldn't send it to him. And the governor sent for me. When he sent for me, I entered into the room. I saw it was a big sitting room. People were surrounding him and all that. The moment I entered into the room like this, I saw that there was a kind of conspiracy. The governor put it to me, Semiu, your men took my pictures at the Central Mosque last Friday. Yes, I said, yes. I have not seen the pictures in the. I said, you cannot see it now, sir. Then he looked at me. He said, why? I said, it's deliberate. He said, why? I said, sir, we cannot be showing pictures of where people are hailing you, where you're bringing out your head in the car at a time that people are unhappy with us because of salary that we could not pay. Our inability to pay salary at that time was not our making. It was not our making. But we must be seen to be identifying with the people.
And what was his reaction?
I had no other reaction. I told him it was not a picture to be sent. Let me tell you, I also didn't take that decision alone. I look at the picture. I sent a copy to one of my friends, the guy that runs CMC Connect, Badijo Kusanya. I sent a copy to him. I sent a copy to a member of an international association that I belong to who works in the US. Mark. I said, what do you think about this picture? Is this a picture that you think? I also sent to another friend of mine who runs a media agency in Lagos. What do you think about this? The opinions were unanimous that this is a wrong picture for this time.
Right picture for the wrong season.
Right picture for the wrong reason. So I stayed that picture. I'll give you another example. Femi Fani-Kayode, he came around briefly to join APC around early 2014, briefly, before he returned to PDP. Within the period that he joined APC, he visited Osun. And of course, I took him around a few media houses to grant interviews and all that. He took pictures with Ogbeni. But don't also forget, this was the time that he was jumping from one court to another over his money laundering case. But he took picture with Ogbeni. So he was expecting the thing to be broadcast, to be sent to media houses. He did not see it. He called me. And I told him, I said he shouldn't worry. When he didn't get a positive answer from me, he called the governor himself. Then the governor now called me. Semiu, the picture we took when Femi came here. I said, yeah. He said, where is it? He hasn't seen it in the paper. I said, you won't see it, sir. He said, why? I said, sir, when Fani-Kayode finishes his money laundering case, we can take pictures with him. Not now. The man looked at me and he felt, oh, you have a point. So for me, people in positions of authority, they need some few people around them who will tell them, who will go inside with it. Okay, what they are saying is not. And you should go and investigate those things so that you take decisions based on what you know are the realities and not just be falling for whatever people tell you. And it is a lesson in leadership.
Yes, but outside of Ogbeni,
Yeah.
there are also some other names that came up. You mentioned one of them,
Yeah.
Moshood Adeoti.
Okay.
Then we also have Kolapo Alimi, who
Okay.
went on to become the Deputy Director General of the PDP campaign organization.
That was his choice.
For Senator Ademola Adeleke.
Yes.
So what do you make of that? Why was the governor fighting on several fronts and
No, you see,
not able to keep his
yes.
political allies?
You see, Alhaji Moshood Adeoti left APC in 2018 when it was clear to him, and he contested on the platform of ADP. And don't forget, he scored about 49,000 votes at that time. That means if he had not left the APC,
Yes.
had his 49,000 votes to that of APC, the difference would have been too clear. Now, people went to appeal to him to say, look, come back to the house that you built. Because here is a man who actually suffered for the party. Come back to the house that you built. And he came back. But then, some people who believe that coming back of Adeoti would displace them, they went to the, I'm sure, they worked against his full return. For what reason? He wasn't coming to come and contest an election with them. He would have said, okay, look, complete your second,
do the 2 terms.
2 terms. If God says, okay, he will now be his own choice as Adeoti. The man is still healthy, even though he's 60, maybe 67 or 66 too now. But then, by the time he finishes, even if it is 70, he can still be governor. But at least we would have gone into this second term election of Oyetola with a more united front. But people worked to ensure that they frustrated Adeoti. But of course, the man could not go to any other party. He will not go to PDP. That one, I'm sure of. Count that one as. So, that is one. The Kolapo Adeoti that you mentioned, it was Commissioner for Local Government Activity Affairs under Ogbeni. And he also played a prominent role in the election of the governor. And when issues came up over tribunal and all that, Kolapo Alimi was very, yes, they said he wanted to become Attorney General of the state and all that then, because he was denied. That is the, yes, it is possible for people to high positions. But if the system cannot accommodate them, I believe that's part of the challenge of leadership. You must be able to create other platforms that will make them to be what? To be fully engaged as party leaders. Don't forget, if they are crying, if they are shouting, they are not the only ones you are seeing. No. For one leader that you are seeing, know that there are about 1,000 people behind him. There are some people that are waiting for him to decide where are we going. And once a leader says this is where we are going, then that is where they are going. That is what they call politics. If you as a governor, you can't talk to everybody in the state. It is like a ladder. The thing cascades down. You are the leader, surrounded by some other leaders, surrounded by some other leaders, and then the thing goes down up until the last unit. That's why you have coordinator for everybody, including units.
Well, one of the other things against the Oyetola administration was that he didn't perform. Is that allegation true in terms of delivering of democratic dividends?
Well,
infrastructure,
you see, in that I don't want to say yes or no. But you see, there's one thing. A performance like that of Rauf Aregbesola, especially in the face of paucity of funds, let me tell you, it is like when you have had a goalkeeper who was busy parrying all the shots and all that, and then you now replace that goalkeeper with another one who within the first 5 minutes, people were able to put in goals behind him. What will happen? See, Aregbesola, within his 8 years, in spite of scarcity of funds, he made sure he played that balancing act. There was no money. We didn't sack anybody. Yes, you are hearing of half salary, clinical, and all that. But then, was it half salary everybody was taking? No. The question is no. What we only did was that, okay, in the face of the money that was remaining, we said we will not sack anybody. But what we will do is that we will categorize people at the level of grade 1 to 7, we will pay them their 100% salaries. And they were in the majority.
The critical.
Next to them are the people that from grade level 8 to 10, they were earning 75% of their salary. It was only people in grade level 12 and above that were on 50% of their salary. And they formed about 15 to 20% of the total workforce. They are the directors, the permanent secretaries, and all that, who we believe have some other means. Like they have farms, they have been at work, they go to training, they also get some other things in addition. So they are the ones that were on 50% salary. But why did we do that? We needed to look at, okay, this is the revenue for the state. You have to perform by giving other people who are not civil servants something to also take home. Good roads, schools, security, education. Don't forget that the total number of people who are earning salary in the state, they are not up to 50,000. So in a population of 4 million people, how do you use the entire salary, the entire resources of the state to now pay salary of 50,000 people? So what do you give? What percentage is that? If you want to do little mathematics, what percentage is 50,000 in the midst of 4 million? So if you now have the whole resources and you give it to salary, so what happens? So that was the balancing act that we did during the time of Ogbeni, to give road, to give schools, to give security, to engage people, youth engagement, and all that. So if you now have, unfortunately, if you have your next administration, whether you like it or not, the residents are going to be making comparison. I hope you get the point I'm making. Assuming that Oyetola was the first person to come, if he took governance to the standard that he took it to, not that he didn't perform at all, but you see, because people will now be benchmarking him against what the man before did, they will also be asking questions that, okay, some of the basic, the debts that were inhibiting performance during Aregbe, some of those basic had been paid. So you now have more money to yourself. People will now be asking questions. Okay, why is it that you cannot do this? Why is it that you cannot do this? Why is it that you cannot do it? And so, if people now use that parameter to now judge, people will say, oh no, he didn't perform. But not that he didn't also perform. I must also say that, you see, we are in a climb where you have to strike that balance, just like Ogbeni did. You may be working, but find a way to engage the people. It is also not necessarily money, but there are ways you can do things that will at least make people to have a sense of belonging. If you say you are working, you are constructing roads, you are building schools and all that, if you appear to care less about what those people too also want, they want schools, but they also want some other things. They want some recognition. So there were some things that were happening under the Ogbeni administration that were thrown away. Maybe I will come to that later.
Yes, well, one of the things that the outgoing administration said when it came was the huge debt it said it met.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are talking about having the Aregbesola administration having reduced it.
There's no way,
because
there's
the
no way
is saying
there's no way
so much debt.
See,
and the
there's
resources
no way, there was no new debt. In as much as we took the debt were no longer increasing. They were doing what? They were coming down. For every month that the debtors, the creditors are taking part of their money, repayment, the debt will do what? Will come down. What I'm trying to say is that, don't forget, what forced us to go on 100%, 75%, 50% salary structure was when the revenue was bad. But don't forget, the agreement we signed with workers at that time was that As the revenue of the state improved, we will return to the normal.
100%.
And 6 months to the end of Aregbesola administration, we actually return to full salary.
And pay the backlog.
No, we have not started paying backlog.
Because that is still there.
It is still there. My own too is there. My own too is there. So the point is that we return to full salary. At least that means that phase had stopped. 6 months to the end of Aregbesola. And why? Because some debts had been, don't forget, we took 11.3 billion naira loan called Sukuk, which is a non-interest-free loan to finance those schools. The Sukuk that we are talking about now, we are the first to introduce it to Nigeria. That is what the federal government is now using to construct all those major roads across the country now. The Lagos-Abeokuta road, that is the Sukuk they are using. The Jeba-Mokwa road, it is Sukuk. All the major roads that you see Ministry of Works in Nigeria construct now, they are doing it with 11 billion naira Sukuk loan. 100 billion naira Sukuk loan taken by the federal government to finance. We had started paying back. Immediately you took it, you start paying. So some of the loans that we took, we started paying back. So definitely, when you are taking loan, there's always a period, a tenor, right? So once you get to the tenor, unless you refinance or you reschedule the payment, if you do not reschedule the payment, you are going to. So I'm sure some of the debts have been paid, so the government will have more money to. So we must not continue to now hold on to Ajegbesi. We are owing people. See, the point is that if it were to be somebody else that took over from Aregbesola, the issue of we ran into debt, the story could be possible for people to hear. But with Alhaji Gboyega Oyetola, who was part and parcel of whatever decision was taken, you want to take loan new, you want to pay back new, you want to pay 75% of salary, nothing. He was the one that was always coordinating it because I was there. It will not be good. And that was part of the reasons I went to him in December 2019 to tell him that, sir, you cannot dissociate yourself from anything. If you do, people will come and use it against us. Because they will say you are there. If you are not there, it's a different thing. But once you are there, and you are always there, when we are holding press conferences to announce those things, it will be difficult to some of those things. So, it is better we keep on going like this. Let us forget about whatever we have passed through. Move on. So, the issue of debt could not be. I saw some things that people were writing that is because of the salary that we are owing that you see, those things are just flimsy excuses. We lost, unfortunate, but we have to look inward to say, okay, why we did it? Let us agree that we created problems for ourselves. Let us now appeal to every other person. Let us come together. Now we have lost, so Ojutidao. Abi, let us face the reality.
Yes, but one of the lessons of some of the things those of us who are outside are saying is this. You lost to virtually a section of the state that prides itself in being spoken to in very good manners, reaching out to them. That is talking about the progressive people of Ijesha land, where the party lost virtually everything. And that's why Aregbesola is from. Beyond the issue of infrastructure, because you also lost in Ela, where you had the first interim national chairman,
of the party.
Chief Bisi Akande.
Yes.
What is this disconnect between this government and the people? Because they are progressives, and this party that lost is seen as more
I'm sorry, I may
progressive
not be able
party
to answer that question.
than the PDP.
It's only maybe people who serve in the government that will be able to say, okay, how did we handle relationship with them?
But what did you do during your own administration to keep that?
No, you see,
so we can begin to look at what went wrong.
You see, we didn't do anything special for any part of the state. We did everything that we did to take care of the entire state the way we did it. And so engaging people, making sure that people feel part of the government is a strategy. So it did not, it wasn't restricted to one part of the state. It was the entire state. For instance, I give you example of some of the things that government did to keep on engaging people. There was some program that we had. There's one called Ogbeni Daybreak. Ogbeni Daybreak was a kind of feedback mechanism program where the date we choose, we will be there from around 11 o'clock, midnight, till 5:30 a.m. What are we doing? People from different parts of the state, they will be throwing questions to the governor and he will be answering them. Ordinary people, though, people will also phone in. Those who could not come physically, they will phone in. There was also opportunity for people to send in messages through emails, through Facebook, through WhatsApp, and all that. For the governor to answer those questions. That was one. We also had something we called Bangbadekun. That one was not midnight. That one was during the day. Every quarter. At the headquarters of each of the 9 federal constituencies of the state. And people will come, Iyaloja, students, professional bodies, artisanal bodies, people, different organizations will come. This governor will be sitting with members of his executive. They will throw questions. Even if you are from a particular local government, from that area, and you have been in government, and you have done something wrong, maybe you snatch somebody's wife. There and then, somebody will come and raise it, but your commissioner is not doing well in this area. He doesn't come home. The governor will not answer the question for him. You say, Mr. Dotun Oladipo, you are from this area, please come and answer this question. It is now up to you to now know whether it is either people will boo you, is either they will boo you or they will hail you. If you are the type that is keeping that environment well for the governor politically, people will see. The governor himself will see. The governor will now be able to determine whether I need to get, even if I don't sack this guy, but I need to get a stronger political force. I need to raise someone else around here. So the governor may be dealing with someone else other than the commissioner, if the commissioner is not strong in that locality. All those things, they have a way of, but you see, many of the commissioners, unfortunately, if you read down my article, I made reference to someone who met me. I was complaining about the government. He was also asking whether people could get to Ogbeni. I said, look, rather than all of you complaining behind the governor, why don't you go and meet him? He's a human being. He will listen to you. Even if all of you, if you are thinking that you cannot face him alone, all of you that think like this, gather yourself together, tell him that you want to see him. Table your opinion before him. I indicated that thing in my piece. They said the person should go and be answering me that I was saying something. I said, okay. But for me, that was a kind of what Yoruba people call orijo. I gave the governor orijo. I gave him a hint. These are what people are saying behind you. Many of the commissioners were saying wrong things. So they were complaining they didn't have money to meet people. They don't have clinical. You see, when people who are occupying such positions are the ones complaining like that, then know that there is danger.
Well, the governor has hinted that he will be going to court.
We have their reasons why they think the outcome of that election cannot stand. So that's what the courts are for. And that is why at every election, there's also the opening for electoral disputes. So the tribunal is there. And for me, leave out my own opinion, what will happen. Let's go to the courts. Let's go to the tribunal and test the validity of the victory of the opposition party.
But you are not willing, or you have not indicated any intention to leave the party.
Who?
You.
I.
Yes.
Okay.
What are your own advice or expectations going forward? How do you How do you put this party back together? Especially in the
Yoruba
face
people will
of
say,
this
let me say
defeat.
something in Yoruba. They say, "Tọmọdé bá ṣubú, awowájú, tágbàlagbà bá ṣubú, á bojú wẹ̀yìn." You see, when you fall, you have to, as an elder, an experienced person, when you fall, you have to get up and look back and see what actually is the reason for your fall. I think for me, that is the most rewarding thing for us to do now. Let us look at how did we get to this point. I knew I was not going to leave the party. No. But I also knew that we were on our way to electoral loss. But I knew I would not leave the party. You see, sometimes maybe in life, it is good to also taste the negative side of things. When they say in Yoruba belief, they say when things are going on with you too often and too smoothly, that you also have to look at yourself. Yes, it will have been good for us to continue what we started, but there will now be a kind of disruption. Except that the man who comes in after Oyetola can really, really learn and do what people want. And I pray it doesn't. So yes, I pray
So
it
you can
doesn't.
return to power.
I pray it doesn't. So that at the end of the day, people will still see that APC is still the best option. And I still believe that APC is still the best option, except that we have suffered some kind of setback. Now, I pray that our setback doesn't go beyond 4 years. So looking back, I feel sad because what we are trying to do was to replicate Lagos and see how that continuity could be a source of development for the state. And I'm sure you are also from that state. If you visited that state around, say, 2011, 2012, by the time you visit the state around, say, 2013, 2014, 2017, you will know substantially that this is not the same state capital that you knew. Roads, schools, things were beginning to form in terms of development. Places that were unbuilt were becoming built. Hotels, 5-star hotels that people could really feel comfortable staying in, they were already springing up. I can tell you, at the time that the Rauf Aregbesola administration came on board in Osun, hotels that you could really call hotels in that state, in the state capital, were nothing to write home about. Nothing to write home about. As a matter of fact, I remember in 2016 or 2017, a team from the British Council came to visit Osun. In fact, it was actually myself and the current governor, then chief of staff, that we received them. We actually received them in his own house. So when we finished the meeting, they wanted to return. We finished the meeting around 6 o'clock. They were now asking for us to give them police escort that will escort them to Ibadan. We now say, but it's late now. Why do you need to go to Ibadan? They now say, no, because of hotel, that there's no hotel in Osogbo. They said that when they came to the state during the period of Oyinlola, and that was the experience, that they finished the meeting around 7 o'clock. The governor had to give them police escort to escort them to Ibadan. But that was the only place where they could get at least a standard hotel where they could stay. We said, no, the situation has changed. We now took them to ID Nest Hotel, which was one of the hotels that had come up. As a matter of fact, that hotel, it was, I think the owner needed some kind of partnership with the government. We needed to help him to at least quickly complete the thing, so that, because if you get to a community, to a place, and you cannot find some kind of comfortable hotels, it tells you a lot about the economic development of that environment. Yeah. I can tell you now that if you get to Osogbo, you can find one of the best hotels that you can find anywhere in the country. You can find them in Osogbo now. There's this Line Hotel owned by the former Deputy Speaker, Lasun Yusuf. Of course, that is the best and the biggest now. There's also the Inner Suite. There is the Regina Suite. There is, of course, the ID Nest. There's so many hotels. there's continental. Why? Because something. Because most people don't try to determine what are the indices you use to measure how a place has improved. Those are some of the things, though. Because if economic activities are not booming, there will be no people to stay in those hotels. Those are things that you must look at.
The way you have sounded, I won't ask you to advise the incoming government, because you want to come back to power. But what are your expectations?
Expectations.
What do you want to see? What were those things that you felt you lacked in the last administration, or what are those things you feel the state urgently needs now?
I can't be an advisor to the incoming government.
Yes, I know that.
No, I'm not an advisor.
But that state as it is, what do you think it needs now in a bid to move forward?
We need to continue infrastructure that will make people to have a sense of belonging. The Aregbesola administration spent 8 years and it embarked on some infrastructure that could have been continued. As in, another 8 years of Oyetola will have moved the state further. But, so, for the incoming government, I think maybe let them just feel that whatever they can do. And let them just do whatever they feel they can do. I won't say more than that.
Alhaji Semiu Okanlawon, it's nice having you on Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo.
Thank you.
We hope to engage you soon and wish you the best as you move on in your political career. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. That will be all on this edition of Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. Don't forget, we are in partnership with a YouTube channel, News Pop NG. We will be working together in the bid to strengthen our project, which is Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo, and other newsworthy materials. Don't forget also that you can send in your views on each of our editions, either through a 2-minute video or an email of not more than 500 words to info@theeagleonline.com.ng. info@theeagleonline.com.ng, and keep it as civil as it can be. My name is Dotun Oladipo, your regular host. See you